Welcome back to Heart Not Life Sailing. We're here in beautiful Chaguaramas, Trinidad. In this video, we're diving into the exciting Part 2 build of our Bimini, Dodger, or Pilot House, however you want to call it. Get ready to join us on this incredible journey as we transform our sailboat. Alright, good morning. So, my experiment with the wax paper and polyester did not work. Not a big deal. I'm just gonna grind it down with some coarse sandpaper until I have a nice fresh layer to work with. Taking the paper off, and because I covered it, now the polyester, the waxes come to the surface, which make it hard, so you don't want to glass directly over that anyways. I did that just so that I can lay weight on top of it to get it nice and flat, which worked, but the paper stuck to it. So we're just gonna grind that off. Oh, I'll be back with some more paper. We're going to attempt this. The other sander is getting into the foam too much. Next up, what I want to do is continue the contour of the honeycomb into this. I cut this a little bit big. I'd rather have this be a bit big than too small because I can't add to this whole structure, but it's easy to trim off excess of this. Got a little less than 1/4 of an inch. I bent this, get the right contour. Actually, I'm gonna flip it over. I got lines on. Alright, now this is all ready to get moved over to the other side where I'll be assembling the frames just as soon as they have a spot ready for me. So see you in a few minutes. So we got to move in to the space where we're going to be working on the hardtop. Today I'm just trying to set things up and get it lined up and somewhat leveled. It's going to be some fiddling around, so let's watch that quickly. Alright, that's all I could do for the time being. I have to get the two ends, I believe, level, and then the slope doesn't matter. That should, in the end, give me a flat surface. So what I'm doing here is leveling this up, and then I'm going to level up on the other end and then just run a straight line across. It doesn't have to be level from here to here, but if it's level from here to here and straight from there to there, then there'll be no twist in it. the next day, and I got it pretty close yesterday, but not right on. I think I mentioned earlier, I made all these jigs before I had this space to work on, and we ended up with getting a lot of rain. Even though I tried to hide it underneath the boat, it still got wet, and all of these ribs kind of warped and twisted, and the lamination delaminated and got some bubbles in it. That's why I had to do some grinding on the top, and had to put skirts along the sides to try and flush things up a bit. I'm going to keep on that, and by not too long from now I should be able to do my butt joint, so follow along. Alright, it's looking a lot better now. Looking down the line, there's no waviness. Every bit is touching my supports. I'm going to screw it down now, put a little bit of weight on it. I'm just going to screw down one side because I have to put filler, thickened resin, in between the two layers so that they squish together. So what's going to happen now, I'm going to lay some boxing tape down on the jig so that the thickened epoxy doesn't stick to it, and then screw down the one layer, fill both seams actually with thickened epoxy, and I'll sandwich them together, and then screw down the second panel. And if I see any indifferences, like any kind of waviness from the tips, because these are really hard to get perfectly flat, it looks pretty good now, but if it is off a bit, I can just loosen off the screw if one side's pulling it down a little bit too much, but it looks pretty perfect right now. I'm happy with it. So what I'm going to do is put some boxing tape along this, so when I join it together, I can put some weight on this and get it nice and smooth. Alright, now we're ready to get started. 1, 2, 4, 400 should do it. 400 milliliters. It's probably thick enough now. Just gonna finish blending that so all those chunks aren't in there. I was right on the money thinking I would need 400 milliliters, but this whole thing's only 400 and I wouldn't have been able to stir. So I'm going to quickly mix up 100 and I'll be done. Now that one sheet is screwed down and thickened resin is placed on both sheets, I've pressed the two sheets together snugly with packing tape underneath it so it doesn't stick to the plywood, and just placing some paint cans over top to weigh down the seam so that we don't have a lot of thickened resin bulging out, which is very difficult to sand since the core material is so soft you can't touch it with the sandpaper. We're back. This is all glued together. Turned out really well. There's a couple of tiny high spots I'm going to trim below. It's easier to fill that than laying glass over and having bubbles underneath it. So one thing I noticed going around with the straight edge is on the curvature here, there's slight dips. It's only about 3/64 of an inch. What I'm going to try doing is supporting it with some string. I'm going to cut some pieces of wood in there. I think this will be just as effective. Try some little wedges of wood here. So that's already almost right on. There we go. Definitely more. Oh, that's closer. Do the same on the other side. Alright, next up I gotta trim some little high spots. Let's see how the other side feels. Stay tuned for part 3 of our hardtop enclosure project. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss a thing. See you next week.